Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm painting a Necron Overlord from the Indominus kit. And we got him primed with a Vallejo Gray primer. And now we're just using matte white. And I just decided for the next layer, if I had added these highlights first, it would make it pop a little more. And so I'm basically just adding detail with white, just matte white, over the armor, the edges of things, just adding detail to it. Around his pads. Just all on his armor. Just adding the edge highlights where I see fit. And that's what he's looking like afterward. Next we're going to be using Darkstone. And I'm using this to shade all his joints and like metal bits and a lot of like the dents and stuff in his armor, and as well as using it as a shader basically for, you know, the bottom half of them is going to be a little more dirtier, making him look weathered. And that's what he's looking like so far, with the Darkstone over all his joints and detailed bits. Then I used skeleton bone next, and we're using this through an airbrush. And it's hard to see, but I'm gradually building up that skeleton bone on top of the armor. And I'm not worried about, you know, hitting everything, because I'm going to be using Darkstone for the next airbrush layer and shading everything back down. So that's what he's looking like with the skeleton bone. Next we're using Dragon Red, and I just wanted to add a red tint because I'm wanting to make his base using weathering powder. And it's got more of a reddish tint, and I think this color looked good with just adding, you know, something contrasting the white in between the dark brown and the white. And so that's what we're looking like so far. Added the red, the Dragon Red, through the airbrush. And then going back to the matte white, I'm just going back and adding a few highlights. Mostly where his pads, like his armor pieces, end. And a lot of the sharper areas, like his cheekbone, you know, around his gauntlet there. Next we're using Uniform Gray, and I'm using this to highlight those in-between joints, as well as his staff and all the metal bits on him. So that's what we're looking like so far. And then I'm going to hit him with the ultra matte varnish, and basically this will keep the next layer that I apply, the AK Interactive streaking grime. It'll make it to where I can use a sponge and wipe away and get that color back. If I have a varnish over it, it'll protect it, because this enamel paint will stain it. And it's just nice to have like a protective coat before you do any type of work with the enamel. And with this enamel, I basically did 1 part streaking grime and 2 parts mineral spirits. And we're just covering the whole model with this. And it gets it really thin, but at the same time it'll stain it. And I'll be able to wipe away with a sponge with mineral spirits and bring back those highlights. That's what we're looking like so far. So now I just got a sponge here, just a wedge sponge, and you can get the mineral spirits at Walmart's, where I get the big old gallon jug, just mineral spirits. And while it's still wet, it's a lot easier to soak up. You can let it dry and do it, but it'll take a lot more effort to remove it. You just got to be careful not to take it all away, because then you'll lose the detail where it recedes into the crevices. So that's what we're looking like after that. Next, I'm using oil paints, and I'm using black oil, and I'm using this to darken around the in-between bits, all his joints, his shins, his knees. And basically using that oil allows me to work it around. I use the spirits as well with that to thin it down, and it just adds an extra layer of texture and detail. And I like the way it looks in between those metal joints. And then I thinned it down even more and just made a wash out of it just to wash the pipes. Now I'm going to be using red ochre, and I just wanted to add a couple rust spots or just something different on his chest there. Just add some detail to his rib cage armor. And this oil paint that I'm using is My Artscape. I just bought it on Amazon, like a whole little paint kit. And then using Naples yellow as like a lighter rust color that I'm putting at the top of these little rust streaks that I added. I didn't do a whole lot. I just thought it would, the focal point being his chest, his head, it'd be nice to have a little extra detail there. And then I'm using emerald green, and mainly I focus on the darker areas with this, or where his armor meets with the darker grays. Just adding a little more color to it. And I thin this down as well with mineral spirits. Next, I'll be using a violet game ink and using this for his emblems. Just shading that intersection of the emblem. And then I'll be doing the same thing that I did on his chest, basically a rust pass using the ochre and the yellow Naples oil paints. And I also used the black oil as well, just to darken around those emblems and stuff around his chest. So that's what we're looking like so far. And you can do the same thing with the oils that you do with the enamels. Use a sponge. If you accidentally get it somewhere, you can use a sponge and mineral spirits to wipe it away. So now we're doing the glows on the weapons. I use the uniform gray as the darker color to shade the backside, and then I use ash gray to basically split the weapon, and then use white just to highlight the edge. Just something simple. And then we used Kraken Skin and Poisonous Cloud through an airbrush. over top of those the base layer grays that we did. And we're doing this really lightly with the Kraken skin. And then using the Poisonous Cloud, that color is a pretty loud color. And those two colors work well together to create like a neon green glow. And then we'll use the game ink. This is the green. And we're just washing over the weapon there. And we did the same thing for all the balls and stuff around him on his shoulder pads, on top of his head. And that's pretty much it. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to see more. Turn on notifications if you want to get updated on my next video. I got one coming out tomorrow too. But we'll see y'all next time, and later.